Hi, welcome to SFG Cards and Craft. Today I'd like to show you how I did this little card using the Whimsy stamp set called Who Loves You. I'm just at the moment just stamping here. This is using a VersaFine black Onyx ink to stamp with. I'm actually using baby powder here as I've misplaced my powder bag, and just a brush just to spread it around just to stop any stray bits of embossing powder. And for some reason I didn't clean my stamp off the last time I used it, and I've got black ink instead of clear, but that doesn't matter. It gets covered over with the embossing powder anyway. Okay, and that comes out all right. That's using Ranger Turquoise embossing powder. It's like a pale blue with like little black flecks in it, and when it's heated it becomes like little gold flecks. It looks quite good. And I'm just about to heat it now. And I find that there's actually a little bit of a stray in there, so I have to get rid of that. And I don't have any trees or branches as stamps, so I'm just hand drawing in a branch for the owl to sit on. Just penciling it in first, just so, because I'm hopeless at drawing, so I'm just penciling it in just to see that I don't make up too much mistakes with it. And once I'm happy with it, I will later on ink it in with the Copic fine liner or multiliner pen. And I'm just getting ready now to stamp on some leaves. This leaf set isn't in the Who Loves You stamp set. It's actually one from Altenew. It's an Altenew stamp set that has this little bunch of leaves in it. It's just something I thought I'd better have some greenery in it, just some leaves on the end of the tree, otherwise it looked a bit bare. So this is why I've decided to do that. And this is now just going to ink in the trunk of the branch of the tree, just with a pen. I'm doing it pretty roughly because obviously tree branches aren't smooth, so I'm just on purpose they're putting some wiggly bits of lines in there just to make it look more sort of naturally rough. And this little branch that's coming down here is just in behind the leaves. This is the reason I had to do the inking after I've put the leaves on, so that the leaves can be in front of the branch that's there. And now rubbing off the pencil lines. If you don't rub off the pencil lines, they will get trapped in underneath any ink that you put on top, and you'll never get them off then. So that's why I had to do that now before doing the background colour. Takes a little longer than I thought. Thinking, okay, this is broken china, just coming in to do a bit of the background there. I go fairly close up to the owl, but I don't actually go over the lines. Not that at this stage it would matter if I did go a little bit over, because it's a very pale blue anyway. So, but I try to leave like a halo around the highlights of the, sort of basically like highlights in there around the animal. And the three colours that I'm using, tea dye is the light colour, rusty hinge is the more orangey sort of colour, and the dark one is ground espresso, I think, pretty sure. I can fix that, I'll write that down later if it's not. And the two greens I use for the leaves is crushed olive and mowed lawn. This is just the tea dye, just a very watered version of the tea dye that I'm putting on the belly. And rusty hinge pretty much for the rest of it. You'll notice I don't do anything with the eyes because I do put in the joggly eyes afterwards, after it's all finished and all card and everything assembled. I put the joggly eyes in, so that's why I'm not actually putting anything on for the eyes here. I do the beak, but that very little of that is seen actually. And I've got some on his belly, but it doesn't really matter because that's going to be covered over later on with the shading anyway. And the feet and the beak, I'm actually doing those in dried marigold. I don't know if I actually showed that one up the front, but dried marigold is that colour that I'm actually using on the feet and the beaks. Feet and beak, sorry. And the branch, I'm blocking the branch in with the rusty hinge, just a light coat. That gets darkened afterwards and shaded as well. A bit of a hair on probably one of my cat hairs. They get everywhere. I've got 2 cats in this house and they get everywhere. I've actually had this stamp set for several months. I think I probably got it about July, maybe August 2016. And here it is now, end of March 2017, and this is the first time that I've actually really made a card out of it. It's one of these things that I've been wanting to do for a while and hadn't really known how to go about doing it. I don't have the dies for it, so it's one of these things that I've had to do on like a flat card, not a layered card. Just doing the feet a second time. Oh, sorry, no, I'm actually doing shading on the feet there with the, that's using the ground espresso for the shading on the belly and around the edges there, and on the feet, just on the front of the toes, just to bring a little bit of the highlight up on it, and that's the shading on it. I try and keep the belly as lightly coloured as possible. That's because the tea dye is on the belly and it's very watered down colour of it, so I try to keep that as white as possible. Just spreading that a little bit better. I thought it was a bit of a harsh line there, so I've just evened it out a little bit. And that's doing the beak. The beak, as I said, is the dried marigold, and redoing the toes a little bit too, because the shading sort of moved up. It must have been a little bit damp still when it's moved up. And bringing in the ground espresso on the branch. I couldn't find my wider brush. The only brush I had was much too wide, so this is actually what I'm using here, is a 3/16 of an inch angle shader angle shader brush. I was trying to find the 1/4 inch or something a little bit larger, but the only one I could find was too big, so I was stuck with the little one, unfortunately. So it does take a little bit longer to do it, but I'll get there with it. My 1/4 inch angle brush is probably somewhere with my powder bag, wherever that is. And I'm just going back in with the rusty hinge just to do a bit more darkening of the on the top half of the branch. I don't know if trees actually are this colour. Most of them have bark on them, which is much darker, but I thought it looked all right. And the small little branch that's sticking on the side there, just doing the shading on that, and then I'll come back in with some more rusty hinge on that one as well to do that one. With this, if anyone decides to do something like this, you must remember to actually stamp the leaves before you actually brush in the permanent ink on the tree trunk, because if you don't, you're going to end up with tree trunk over the top of your leaves, and unless that's something that you want, which would have to be masked out, it's not really looks good. But the way I've done it, I've actually done it with the pencil first, then stamped the leaves, as you can see, and then I've gone over it with the ink. Now this is painting the leaves. The first colour I'm putting on is the crushed olive, and then I'm dotting in mowed lawn, just on around, not to cover the whole area, just sort of while it's still quite moist. This water brush that I'm using is a relatively new one for me. It's puts out quite a lot of water. I don't know if that's normal for them, or if this one's actually particularly faulty or something, but it seems to put out an awful lot of water. Sometimes it actually is too much. It sort of puddles, which I'm not really happy about that, but maybe I'll just get used to using it. I don't know. Perhaps if I put less water in it, it's only half full there at the moment though. And just finishing off the leaves. I thought that it needed something a little bit different coloured, so I thought that's why the greenery would have been good in it. So that's why I've put a few leaves. Okay, well there's that panel done, and I think it looks quite cute. And there's the card, so who loves you? Got the joggly eyes in it, and inside, I do stupid. it was my husband's idea to spell stupid that way. My original card, I had it spelt correctly, but he said, oh, put a double O in it. He said it works both ways that way. So anyway, there's the card finished with the background card backing on it. Hope you like it, and if you do, please subscribe and tick the like box. Thank you. Bye-bye.